The religious love to claim that atheists and atheist claims can be debunked, but can they? Can they really? And the answer, of course, is no. Not only do they not understand what they're saying, they just don't care. They just really want to believe. So let's look at another example where everything goes entirely wrong. Not that the religious will ever admit to it. So off we go. This is a video by Redeemed Zoomer called All Atheist Arguments, yes, the all is in all caps, answered in 10 minutes. We answer a lot of theist questions for us, and those never go well for the religious, but this is the first video that I've seen, I think, where they try to answer some of our objections in return. And I'll be honest, this is a video where I figured, yeah, this is going to be 2 videos. Then I started working on it and said, yeah, this is going to be 3 videos. No, it's going to be more than that, because there's just so much wrong packed in here that it's going to take me forever to unpack it. This is a primer on what not to do as a theist. Will it be any good? I don't know, but I wouldn't be betting on it. But I am willing to take a look. How much of this is going to be misrepresentations of what we say? Probably a lot, but let's get into it and see.
Atheists have a lot of arguments, but they never really think of anything new that the church hasn't had answers to for the past 2,000 years.
That's you, actually. You haven't had a new argument for your God in, forever. At least, not that I've seen, because I can only report on what I've seen, which is one of the reasons that I keep doing this, just in case they ever come up with something new and interesting. But here's the thing. Just because your church can make up explanations for the problems that your religion has, that doesn't make those explanations true, does it? We've done thousands of these stupid videos around here, and all I've ever seen are excuses and bald rationalizations, never once a legitimate answer to any of the objections that we ever raise. So immediately, based on what he has on his wheel, I think we're just going to be looking at yet another religious troll, but I guess there's value in laughing at that too, so I guess let's keep going.
So let's answer them. Religion causes wars.
Which is demonstrably true. But it's not just religion, of course, that causes wars, but any irrational belief system can and has demonstrably caused wars in the past. When you believe that your imaginary friend gave you the land that some heathen over yonder is sitting on, you're a lot more likely to try and wipe them out because, say it with me now, God is on our side. When you don't think that some magical man in the sky is going to help you win, then you tend to be a little more cautious and you tend to think about it a little more than you might otherwise have done. That doesn't mean that you still won't do something stupid, because there is no end to human stupidity and irrationality, but how many people throughout history have strapped on the armor and rode off into battle because we've got God on our side? So let's get to the misrepresentation where he says, because religion doesn't cause all wars, therefore it doesn't cause any wars. Because that's not how that works.
Well, actually, only 7% of all human wars were caused by religion, and if you remove Islamic wars, that number drops down to 3%.
Not really. He's not answering the question that's actually being asked. He even put it up on screen. Religion causes wars. Didn't say religion causes all wars or religion causes most wars, but it does demonstrably and has throughout history caused wars. He even admits it himself. This is just a straw man, but then again, what can we expect, right? Now, a long time ago, I saw somebody break this down. I don't remember where it was, so I'm just kind of going off memory here, as faulty as that may be. People can correct me down in the comments if you think I've got it wrong and if you have better data than I'm going off of here. But it was said that they were only counting the wars that were caused solely by religion. Not any war in which religion played a part, only the ones where it was the only cause of the war. If they could find any reason at all to dismiss a war caused by religion, then they did it. And that's not really being honest, though, is it? If you look at World War II, there are a lot of causes for World War II, but one of them was that Hitler thought the Jews needed to be wiped out, and in fact, a lot of people needed to be wiped out to make way for his master race. This was a religious belief. It was a Christian belief. They don't want to talk about that, though, so they just sweep it off the table and pretend it wasn't real. But it was.
A lot of evil has been done in the name of religion.
Yep, sure has. Not all evil, but yes, evil has been done in the name of a lot of things, including religion, but the statements that he's putting up are factually true. And then he grabs the goalpost and starts running downfield. He's not responding to the actual statements being asked. He's just making things up in his head, and we see that all the time. They respond to what they think that we're saying, not what we're actually saying. They want to dismiss it so badly that they just ignore what is actually being said in favor of the straw man version that they invent in their heads. And you will see this from the religious all the time. I mean, seriously, go watch The Line or The Atheist Experience sometime, where the religious will refuse to answer the questions being asked because the questions being asked will make them doubt their religion. So they answer other questions that they think can skirt around the actual problem, because these are not honest people. They never have been, and they never will be. These people just want to believe. So this is demonstrably true, no matter what he wants to believe. Let's see how he screws it up.
This is true, but the most murderous people in human history have been atheists.
Which is irrelevant. There go those goalposts again. Because that's not even true as stated. Hitler was not an atheist. Hitler was a Catholic, and he said so repeatedly. There is nowhere in any of Hitler's writings where he said that he didn't believe in God, and tons of places that he did. This is just a desperate attempt to kick Hitler off of their team because it makes them look bad. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. The Holocaust was caused by Hitler's devout Christianity. Now, can we say that those beliefs are out of the mainstream? Certainly, but there are 45,000 distinct sects of Christianity out there, and beliefs don't cease to be Christian just because you don't agree with them. For people like Stalin and Pol Pot, they didn't act out of atheism, since it's impossible to act out of atheism for anything. They acted because of communism, which is a political ideology that has nothing at all to do with atheism. Secular isn't atheist. Atheism is the answer to one and only one question. Do you believe in any gods? You can derive absolutely no positions from that answer. So he's just wrong again.
This doesn't mean religion is true, it just means you can't use that as an argument against it.
Sure we can. Of course, I don't see anyone actually using these things. These are just straw men made up by the religious because they're easy to swat away. I'd really love to see a source material for these atheist arguments, because I'm sure he just made most of them up. Or it came from some other religious video or website. I don't know. We've seen that many times before. Where's the evidence that any atheist ever said any of this? Because I don't think he has any.
If you were born somewhere else, you wouldn't be a Christian.
You is not a word. Anyone who uses you as a word is an illiterate idiot. Knock it off. Be isn't a word either, but, same thing applies there. However, this is still absolutely true. Childhood indoctrination is a thing. Societal pressure is a thing. People don't just become Christians out of the blue any more than people become Muslims that way. You have to be taught it, and the various churches have pushed that kind of early childhood indoctrination basically forever. Aristotle said, "Give me the child until he is 7, and I will show you the man." And it works for non-religious things too. But here's the thing. If you put a child into an Islamic country such that they never have any contact with Christian ideas, then those people are not going to become a Christian. They will almost certainly become a Muslim. All of the studies that we have prove this conclusively. So you're just wrong.
Okay, and if you were born somewhere else, you wouldn't be an atheist. Everyone's beliefs are shaped by their context.
So you're admitting that you're wrong? What is wrong with this guy? How is he answering this at all when he's just admitting that it's true? I've got no clue what his point is, so let's just move on.
How do you know which religion is true?
It's a fair question. The religious, and this goes for more than just Christians, claim that their own religions are true, but how do you actually know it? And better yet, how do you demonstrate it to anyone else? That's the one thing that the religious have never managed to do, right? Faith and fifis don't matter, but it's all they really have to go on. The operative word here is know. How do you know? Not what you believe, not what you have faith in. How do you gain actual knowledge, and how do you demonstrate that you have it? And he won't have an answer for that, will he?
Well, everyone, religious or not, has faith in a certain worldview. It's just that some worldviews are called religions and some are secular.
I don't. I don't have faith in anything, especially not the Hebrews 11:1 version of faith, and I don't have a worldview. A worldview is defined as a particular philosophy of life or conception of the world. But I don't really have that. I put it another way, that a worldview is an artificial overlay that you drape over the world to make it more comfortable for you to live in. And I don't do that at all. I accept reality as it seems to be. I take the evidence into account for everything. I do not engage in anything that looks like religious style faith. I can pick up a rock and examine it. It has weight, it has texture. It is, to the very best of my ability to determine, real. Therefore, as far as I'm concerned, it's real. No worldview involved. There's very little that I have to accept without evidence, except for the assumption that any of it exists in the first place, which we all have to do, religious and otherwise, due to the inability to solve the problem of hard solipsism. That's not an assumption, it's not an assertion, it's a necessity, because without it, no one can do anything else. So you're just wrong again.
But everyone has to ask the question of which worldview best explains the world.
I don't. If you really think about it, this is just projection. I don't remember really hearing about worldviews back in the old days, 30 to 40 years ago. This has really become, here's how we can make atheists look like they're just like us, which is nonsense of the highest order. It's why they start saying that everyone has faith, which he did just a minute ago, but I don't have faith, which is usually their cue to start playing linguistic games and conflating different meanings of words because they can't actually make a concrete, coherent case on their own. Even here, I don't think I qualify. The dictionary definition of faith, and this comes from Oxford, is complete trust or confidence in something or someone. Sorry, but I don't have complete trust in anything or anyone. I apportion some level of trust based on the amount of evidence that I have that said thing is true and no more. That's called skepticism and rationality. I also don't say, well, this is what we know, so it's just got to be true. No, that's not how that works. Everything is provisional. I acknowledge that my current level of information is incomplete and always will be, and that any decisions that I make based on what I currently know is dubious at best. It's provisional. It could change tomorrow if we find other things are true. Of course, I can only operate based on the level of information that I currently have available to me. But I don't insist that it's gotta be true, do I? I acknowledge that it very well could be wrong or could be incomplete. That's life. That's how reality works. It's just the best that I have to work with at the time. So, still wrong. Will this guy ever be right? Let me know what you think down in the comments.
There's no scientific proof that God exists.
That's true. There isn't. This is a legitimate question that I'm sure he's going to screw up really badly because that seems to be what he does. In order to rationally accept that any proposition is true, and that goes for anything, one needs to have evidence to back it up, and the religious have none. They've just got faith in fifis, and whether they like it or not, that doesn't demonstrate that anything, any proposition under the sun, is actually true. Now, I don't know where his quibble is going to be on this. He'll probably just say, I just believe, or something like that, but that doesn't mean anything. You can believe you're a water buffalo for all I care. That doesn't make it true. Or he might quibble on the word proof, which, no, it shouldn't be proof, it should be evidence, but people use the two interchangeably, so I usually just let that slide by. So as long as I can understand what you mean, and you're not being a dumbass, I don't really care. Let's see where this one goes.
Well, by definition, science can only prove things inside the natural world, and by definition, God is something outside the natural world.
And where did that definition come from? Because you don't just get to make things up about reality because it makes you feel really good. It's like saying, by definition, unicorns are magical. Okay, so what? Show that unicorns are real and that magic, in fact, exists. You can't do that, so your definition is nonsensical. You don't just get to define your God into existence. Science deals with things that are demonstrably real, and apparently your God doesn't qualify. We have no evidence that there is anything other than the natural world. It doesn't matter if you like that or not, it is still the fact that we currently deal with. This is what we can show, and the showing part is important, is real. If you can show that there is something that exists outside of the natural world, great. Go ahead, show us how you came to that conclusion. Don't assert it, demonstrate it. Show us that you're not just full of crap. Of course, they don't even try to do that because it's all based on blind faith and fifis. It is not based on reality. And for anything that is in reality, you gotta base it on reality. Give it a shot.
So science can neither prove nor disprove God.
But by that token, science can neither prove nor disprove magical unicorns either. All you have to do to conveniently get away from science is just make crap up. Is that really what he's suggesting? I don't care what science says. I care what the evidence says. And if you have no evidence to present, then I don't care what you say. My only concern is in getting to reality, however reality happens to be. We only get to reality by examining the evidence from reality, not by just making claims, not by wishes and dreams, not by fifis and faith. It's only through the evidence. You have to show your work and be able to demonstrate to others how you rationally reach that conclusion and the actual steps that you took along the way, in a way that they can independently test and confirm that you're not out of your mind or just lying to them. And this never ever happens with religion, does it? Not ever.
There's no evidence of anything supernatural.
Which is true. In fact, people can't even define what the supernatural is, only what it isn't. Magic is just the stuff that's not non-magical. What does that tell us? Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. No, you have to define what these things are entirely separate from other things. What is the supernatural made of? How does it operate? And what mechanisms and methodologies can you use to find out more about the demonstrable supernatural? And the answer, of course, is that they can't. They're not even trying. It's just a word that they use to explain anything that they really want to be true, but which isn't demonstrably so. There's a problem there, but he's not going to acknowledge it. None of them will. So let's watch him run around with a goalpost some more, because that's really all he can do.
Well, that's just not accurate. There are medically documented cases of people with demonic possession speaking in languages they don't know, for example, and people with near-death experiences getting information they never had access to.
And that's not true. There are people who claim that they were possessed by demons, but they can't show that demons are even real. There are people who claim to have had near-death experiences, but they can't show that any of the things that they describe ever happened. These are all just claims. What you want to be true doesn't matter. And I've said this before, but if you actually talk to these people and ask them for details and then try to corroborate those details, you're going to run right into a brick wall. Better yet, ask them how they know these things. Ask them to validate any of their beliefs. They can't do it. In every single encounter, they're going to tell you a couple of details, a few feelings, a few rationalizations, and then it's straight to, therefore God. How they got from I felt a thing to God, they can't say. They just really want to believe it. And even if it was true that they can speak languages they don't know, which it isn't, or have information they don't have access to, which they don't, that doesn't mean that it came from the supernatural. You have to be able to demonstrate this stuff, and they just can't.
The Bible has contradictions.
Which is demonstrably true. Now, I will say that contradictions don't mean that the Bible or some subset of the Bible can't be true. Contradictions only matter because the religious claim that the Bible is inerrant. Get rid of that, and who cares about the contradictions? This is just the religious creating their own problems, which, honestly, what else is new, right?
Okay, you think you found an apparent contradiction that the church hasn't known about for 2,000 years?
No, it's things that the church has tried to rationalize their way around. They haven't actually made any of it go away. That's kind of a problem. Just because you can make up a set of circumstances in your head that make sense to you because you don't really want there to be contradictions, that doesn't mean that's what actually happened. I've watched Christians completely rewrite parts of the Bible so that they can believe that the contradiction isn't really there. Well, it happened like this. And then they just tell me a story. Well, how the hell do you know that? A contradiction is only not a contradiction if it's not there. Just because you tell yourself a story, that doesn't make it go away. This is why I really want it to be true means nothing. I don't care what you want. You have to be able to demonstrate to me that it actually happened the way that you say that it happened in verifiable reality. Stop making a fool of yourself. You're not doing yourself any favors.
Every apparent contradiction can be explained by understanding just a little bit of theology.
But theology doesn't make it true. Truth is only true because it's actually true. It has evidence to back it up, not your silly stories, not your faith, not your beliefs. Theology is just, here's what I wish was so, but that doesn't make it so. This is the problem with a lot of religious people. They get so buried in their theology that they can't even see the world outside anymore. It's just got to be true because they want it to be true. So it's true, even if it isn't true. Nobody cares about your theology but you. Rent a clue.
The Gospels were anonymous.
Which is true. This is another case where he's going to choose to read the statement in a way that isn't actually what it says. The Gospels are anonymous. 4 words, factually correct on all counts. Now, let's see him run around with the goalposts so he can try to make a good showing for anybody who doesn't want reality to be real. And maybe I'm silly here, but I bet he fails.
Okay, anonymous doesn't mean we have no idea who wrote them.
Yeah, it kinda does. The earliest scraps that we have had no attribution at all. Nowhere in any of them does it say, I, fill in my name, said this stuff. Because all of them were written in Greek, we know that it couldn't have been the people that had their names stapled onto them later, probably by Papias in the 2nd century. And no, Matthew wasn't written in Hebrew like a lot of Christians would like to believe. Therefore, the idea that illiterate fishermen and the like could have written in a language that wasn't even commonly spoken where they were, that's just absurd. It's a claim not remotely demonstrated.
It just means the names of the authors aren't signed in the text itself. But we literally have writings from church fathers who knew the apostles and can verify that they indeed wrote the books named after them.
That's the story. Now back it up with more than, he said so. Because that's how pretty much everything in the Bible is. You have to go by church tradition. Well, how do we verify church tradition? We don't. We can't. You just have to have faith that the church knows what they're doing. Yeah, but I have no faith. Sorry. We have no reason to think that these books were written by the apostles, and tons of reasons to think otherwise. Now, granted, he wasn't answering what was said, was he? He never does that. The statement as written is demonstrably true, and he just moved the goalposts to throw in his own personal religious beliefs. And I don't care about any of those. I care about the truth, and he clearly doesn't. This is just laughably absurd. So that's where we're going to leave it for the day. This is going to be a lot longer than I originally thought. At first, this video, which is 9 minutes long, something like that, I figured I'd do it in 3-minute chunks each one. The first video wound up covering 1 minute and 44 seconds of the original, so I think we're in for a long one here, which will make the Supercut fans happy somewhere down the line whenever that shows up. We'll just have to see how it goes. I don't think a lot of these common statements. I think he probably grabbed it all off of a religious website or something, which got it from somebody else back to the point where somebody just made it up or something. But every single statement so far has been factually correct as written. There's nothing actually wrong with any of them. He's just run around with the goalposts on every single one, answering what he wishes was asked, not what was actually asked. The religious do that a lot, don't they? So next time, maybe I can get through another 2-ish minutes of video. I don't know. We'll just have to see how it goes. What do you think so far? Does this redeemed Zoomer guy have any worthwhile points, or is he just an idiot like all the rest? It's clear that he doesn't understand the spirit in which these things may or may not have been asked in the first place. And I don't think he cares either. I don't think any of them care. They're just trying to run back to their faith and their echo chamber, and there's nothing to be proud of in that. So I guess I'll see you all next time. Hopefully this gets more intelligent.